In this lesson, we are going to talk about what to do if there is more than one subject, verb, object, or adjective in a sentence. If there is two, then we can use the word and. If there are more than two, then we will talk about what to do with commas. When we have more than two of the same kind of thing, like more than two subjects, more than two verbs, more than two objects, we call that a series. It is a list of 3 or more words that are the same kind of word. First, we are going to look at what to do if there is more than one subject. Let's look at this first sentence. Jim is making a sandcastle. We can see here that our subject is Jim. Our verb has two parts, is and making. Is making. What is he making? A sandcastle. A sandcastle answers the question, what? He is making what? This is an object. So our sentence has a subject, a verb, and an object. Our subject is Jim. We also have Joe is making a sandcastle. Let's look at these two sentences. We can see that both of these sentences have the same verb and the same object. So we can combine these two sentences into one. We can say that Jim is making a sandcastle, and also Joe is making a sandcastle. And we use and, this word and in the blue box, to show that we have two subjects, Jim and Joe. The problem we have here is this is. We only use is if it is one person. Jim is one person, Joe is one person. But if we put both Jim and Joe in the same sentence, now you can see that we have two different subjects. And because we have two different subjects, we cannot use is. So we need to get rid of is and change that to are. So our new sentence is, Jim and Joe are making a sandcastle. Now we are going to look at what we do if we have the same person doing two different things. In this picture, you can see a boy. We're just calling him he. What does he do? Eats. Why do we have an S at the end of eat? Because he is just one person. So our sentence has a subject and a verb. He eats. But he is also playing. So in this sentence, we have our subject, he, and the verb is plays. Now, we are going to pretend that this is the same boy. I know he doesn't look the same in both pictures, but we can pretend. So now we have the same boy doing two different things. He's eating and playing. So we can take our boy, he, and we can say that he eats, and we can say that he plays. And we combine eats and plays with the word and. So now we have one subject doing two different things. This boy is eating and he is also playing. He is doing both verbs. In this sentence, we are going to have two different objects. So let's look and see what we have. Our subject is going to be a boy. So he's eating, eats, and you see the S at the end of eats because he is just one person. In this picture, he is eating rice. In this picture, he is eating beans. So in this sentence here, we say he eats rice. And in this sentence over here, we say he eats beans. Well, it's the same person doing the same thing. You can see our subject and verb are the same in both sentences. So we are going to combine those into one sentence. So our subject is he. What's he doing? Eats. What does he eat? He eats rice. And he eats beans. And we combine rice and beans with the word and. So in this sentence, we have two objects. And he eats both of them. Both of them answer the question, what does he eat? So we see that he eats rice and he also eats beans. He eats rice and beans. In this sentence, we are going to have two different adjectives. So let's look at the first one. Here is our peach, the peach. Here's our subject, the peach. Here's our verb, is. Here's our adjective, juicy. So we have the red, green, yellow sentence. The subject is, and then an adjective. The peach is juicy. But we can pick another adjective for this peach and say that it is sweet. So we can say the peach is sweet. Now we have two sentences that have the same subject, the same verb, and we are just changing the adjective. We want to say the peach is juicy and the peach is sweet. We can combine those two sentences in two different ways. Let's look at the first way. So we say the peach. We want to say that it is juicy and it is sweet. And we use the word and to show both of them. So now we can see that we have two adjectives and we combine them with the word and. The other way to combine these sentences is to say I, or have a subject, like, there's my verb, I'm going to say juicy, sweet, peach. Or I could say the sweet, juicy peach. Peach is just one, and so I need to have the word the. I use the word the because I know which peach I am talking about. So in this sentence, we have a subject and a verb. We have our object at the end. I like what? I like a peach. What kind of peach? A juicy peach and a sweet peach. We will be learning in a different lesson about why we use this comma right here. It has to do with the fact that we can switch juicy and sweet and it still means the same thing. When we have three or more of the same kind of word, three or more subjects, three or more verbs, three or more objects, we call this a series. And we're going to use these commas. A comma after the first one, a comma after the second one, and then the word and then we write the third one. Let's look at this in our 4 sentences that we have done today. So in our first sentence, when we have 3 subjects who are making a sandcastle, we have Jim, Joe, and John. That's 3 people. We can see that Jim is person number 1, Joe is person number 2, and John is person number 3. We put a comma after Jim, a comma after Joe, the word and then the last subject, John. So this sentence now has 3 subjects in it. We call that a compound subject. And it's also a list or a series. So we have comma, comma, and. Let's look at our next sentence. We have our boy, he. What is he doing? He eats. What else does he do? He plays. And now we're going to have him do one more thing. We're going to say he also sleeps. So we are going to say that this boy eats, that's a verb, that's something that he does. He plays, that is also a verb, it is something that he does. And he sleeps, that is also a verb, it is something that he does. I want you to see that because he is one person, we have an S at the end of eat. Let's see if I can show you. An S at the end of plays and an S at the end of sleeps. So what we need to do is put a comma after the first one, a comma after the second one, move our word and in here, and we have three verbs. This one subject is eating, he eats, he's playing, he plays, and he's sleeping, he sleeps. He eats, comma, plays, comma, and sleeps. Let's look at our next sentence. I wonder who this is about. About a boy, that's he. What does he do? He eats. What does he eat? I see 3 orange boxes. So in this sentence, he is going to eat 3 different things. We say, what does he eat? He eats rice. What else does he eat? He eats beans. What else does he eat? He eats corn. He eats these 3 things: rice, beans, and corn. We need to have a comma after rice, a comma after beans, and we put the word and here. He eats rice, beans, and corn. In this sentence, we have one subject, one verb, and we have 3 objects, just like this. It's a list of 3 nouns. You can see them. Rice is number 1, beans is number 2, and corn is number 3. So we have rice, comma, beans, comma, and, this word and is very important, corn. Let's look at our last sentence. We have the peach. We are going to use 3 words to describe what kind of peach that is. So we have our noun, the peach, that is the subject. We use the verb to be. The peach is just one, so we say is. The peach is. Let's pick 3 adjectives to describe that peach. The peach is juicy. The peach is sweet. The peach is delicious. That means it is yummy. So we have our 3 adjectives: juicy, sweet, delicious. You can see that we put a comma after the first one, a comma after the second one, and then we use the word and. The peach is juicy, sweet, and delicious. We are going to learn in another lesson that the reason we use these commas is because we can move these adjectives around and we will get the same meaning. It does not change the meaning. We could say the peach is sweet, juicy, and delicious. We could say the peach is delicious, juicy, and sweet. So on this page, we can see how there can be 3 subjects, 3 verbs, 3 objects, or 3 adjectives. On these last 3 slides, I am going to share a little bit of more advanced information about this. I will also talk about this more in the next few lessons. I am going to start by reading what we see here on this page. It says, commas, in a series, in a direct address, or with multiple adjectives. Multiple means more than one. Series commas, that is what we have been talking about in this lesson so far. A series is when we have 3 or more items listed in a sentence. The items can be words. That is what we have done so far with our subjects, verbs, objects, and adjectives. But these items can also be phrases. I have not talked about phrases yet. That will be in a later lesson. But a phrase is when we have a group of words. that work together to do one job. You have heard the word phrase when we talk about a prepositional phrase. Prepositional phrases usually answer the question where, when, or which one. There are also other kinds of phrases that can answer other questions. We will talk more about phrases later, but for now we are going to be talking about when we have a series or a list of 3 or more items. The important thing is that those 3 or more items be the same kind of word or the same kind of phrase. For example, in this sentence, we have salamanders, newts, and frogs are amphibians. You can see that there are 3 subjects. Salamanders are amphibians, newts are amphibians, and frogs are amphibians. Each of these, salamanders, newts, and frogs, are a type of animal. They are a noun. So we can see that there is a comma after the first one, a comma after the second one, and then we have the word and before the third one. This lesson is not about using a comma with the direct address, but I will read this here anyway. Commas are used to separate the name of a person spoken to from the rest of the sentence. This is called a direct address. For example, when should I have my essay completed, comma, Ms. Holcomb? So this person is talking to their teacher. The person I is talking, and this person is talking to their teacher, Ms. Holcomb, and the person is asking the question about when their essay, which is probably their homework, should be finished. So the person asks, when should I have my essay completed? And before using the name of the person that they're talking to, they put a comma. This is called using a direct address because the person is speaking directly to someone. If we have more than one adjective, sometimes we will use commas and sometimes we won't. Adjectives are a little bit tricky, so we will be talking more about that in a separate lesson. But we will say this as one simple rule. If you can switch the order of the adjectives without changing the meaning, then you need a comma. If you change the meaning by switching the adjectives or create nonsense, then no comma is needed. Here is an example. May and her grandmother is our subject in this sentence. This is a girl and her grandma. So we have 2 subjects. Our verb is completed. And then we ask the question, what? What did she complete? Well, she completed a puzzle. And we have 2 words telling us what kind of puzzle. We have the word difficult, and we have the word jigsaw. Jigsaw is a type of puzzle. Well, if we try to switch those words, difficult and jigsaw, and read it this way, May and her grandmother completed a jigsaw difficult puzzle. Does that have the same meaning? Well, it does not have the same meaning, and that's why in this sentence we do not have a comma between difficult and jigsaw. We will be talking more about what to do with adjectives when we have more than one adjective in a different lesson. On this page, I'm going to read it to you. It says, use a comma after every item in the series. Remember, a series is when we have 3 or more, except the last one. So in this first example, we can see that the subject is a person whose name is Woody Allen, and then we can see our verb is just the word is, and this sentence is going to tell us What is he? He is what? So it's going to be red, green, orange. We're answering the question, what? Woody Allen is a man. He's a boy. He is what? Well, he's three things. He's a writer, and he's also an actor, and he is also a director. So he does movies. He writes movies, he acts in the movies, and he directs the movies. So you can see we have 3 orange boxes, or 3 objects. That is because Woody Allen is 3 different things. After the first one, we have a comma. After the second one, we have a comma. And then we have our word and. Woody Allen is a writer, comma, an actor, comma, and a director of popular movies. This is showing an example of how we have words in a series, a list of 3 words. 1, 2, and 3. Next, we are going to see how we can have a list of phrases. This will be an example of 3 prepositional phrases. So first we have our subject, which is we, and then we have our verb. What are we doing? We're searching. So we searched. Where did we search? We're answering the question where, so we will use a prepositional phrase. You can see the 3 prepositions here. Do you see we have the preposition under? That's 1. We have the preposition inside, that's 2, and we have the preposition in, that's 3. Each preposition is going to be the line leader of a group of words that are the prepositional phrase. So let's see, the first one is under the beds. That's the first place we looked. The next one is inside drawers. Now this is going to look like 2 boxes because I need to go to the next line. So inside drawers, that's the second place that we looked. And the last place that we looked is in closets for the lost ring. So these are 3 prepositional phrases. You see that word right here, phrases. So we have 1 subject, we have 1 verb, searched, and then we have our 3 phrases. Under the beds, comma, inside the drawers, comma, and then we have our word and then the last one, in closets. So we searched 3 different places. The answer to the question, where did we search, has 3 answers. We put them in a list or a series. And in our series, we have the first one, under the beds, and then our comma. Then we have our second one, inside drawers, and then our comma. And then we have the word and then our last one, in closets. For our last example, I am going to be using this word that says clause. And I have not talked about this yet. This is also in a lesson that we will be doing later. But I want you to see if you can find a series of 3 things that all sound similar. Let's look. The doctor explained how the blood test is done, what it reveals, and why it is necessary. So first we can find the subject of our sentence. That's the doctor. What is the doctor doing? He is explaining something. That means he is telling us about something so that we can understand it better. And he is going to explain or tell us about 3 different things. What do you think those 3 things are? The first one is how something is done. The next one is this word what. Do you see it? That's number 2. And the third one is why. So he's going to be answering 3 questions: how, what, and why. And each of those 3 things in the list begin with a question word: how, what, and why. So our first thing in the list is this. Let me see what color I will use here. I'm going to use purple. How the blood test is done. That's number 1. The next thing is, oh, and do you see there's a comma after that one? That's important. There's the comma. And then we have the next thing. He explains what it reveals. And then there's a comma. and then we have the word and then the last question that he's going to answer is why it is necessary. So in this sentence, he is explaining three things. The first thing is how, ... The next thing is what, ... And the last thing is why. That is a list of three different things, and each one begins with a question word. Okay, on this last slide, we are going to talk a little bit more about phrases. I have said that a phrase is a group of words that does one job. A noun phrase is a group of words that does the job of a noun. And we have learned that a noun can be used in the sentence as a subject or as an object. And you will remember that I put subject inside a red box and I put object inside an orange box. Usually I put only one word inside the subject box and only one word inside the object box. But if we are using a noun phrase, then there will be more than one word in the subject box or more than one word in the object box. But those words are doing the one job of an object or the one job of a subject. On this slide, I am only going to be talking about the noun phrases that do the job of an object. We can remember that an object answers the question, what? When we say what, the answer to that is going to be a noun, which is one word, or a noun phrase, which is more than one word doing the job of a noun. I am going to show how we can have a sentence that has a list or series of three noun phrases that are used as objects in a sentence. For my example sentence, I am going to use the conclusion from Sabrina's story about camping. Her sentence says, "We enjoy setting up the campsite, doing relaxing things during the day, and having fun with my family under the stars at night." In this sentence, we can see that we only have one subject, which is we. We only have one verb, which is enjoy. That means this is something that we like to do. But then we have this question. The question is, we enjoy what? Well, we enjoy three things. We enjoy setting up something, doing something, and having something. Do you see how the first word in each of these three things all end with the ing? When we are going to have a list of three phrases or groups of words, it is helpful if the first word of each one can sound the same, have a similar style or pattern. With these, I am using the gerund form of the verbs set, do, and have. Remember, with the gerund form, we add ing to the end of the verb. And then we are going to use it as a noun because we are saying that it is the act of setting, the act of doing, or the act of having. Let's look at each of these three things. The first one is setting up the campsite. We can see we have setting up, and then we ask the question, setting up what? Well, the answer to that will be a noun. It is setting up the campsite. Then let's look at the second one. We have doing relaxing things during the day. Let's see what that tells us. We are doing what? The answer to a question what is a noun. It is relaxing things. And when do we do these relaxing things? The answer to the question when is during the day. So in number 2, we say doing relaxing things. What are we doing? Relaxing things. When are we doing it? During the day. Doing relaxing things during the day. That is a group of words. That is number 2. Let's look at number 3. Number 3 says, having fun with my family under the stars at night. You can see in this group of words there are 3 phrases, with my family under the stars at night. Let's look at what questions they answer. This one starts out with the word having, and we will ask the questions having what, with whom, where, and when. So, we are having what? We are having fun. With whom are we having fun? That begins with a prepositional phrase. My family. With my family. Where are we having fun? Under the stars. And when are we having fun? At night. All of that information is in number 3. Having fun with my family under the stars at night. To help us see where we need to put our commas, we just need to ask ourselves after we see the verb we enjoy what? And if we can find the word setting up, doing, and having, that will help us see the 3 things, because we are going to ask setting up what? Setting up the campsite. That's the first thing, so after that we will put our first comma. And then we look at the next one. Doing what? Doing relaxing things during the day, and that's our second comma. And then we look at the third. Having what? Having fun with my family under the stars at night. That is our last thing. So here we have 1, 2, and 3. After number 1, we have a comma. After number 2, we have a comma. And then we should have the word and. So the word and should go right here after the second group. And then our sentence says, we enjoy setting up the campsite, doing relaxing things during the day, and having fun with my family under the stars at night. This kind of sentence works very well in the last square of the foursquare when we are writing 5 paragraphs. It is a good conclusion. It helps show the reader what was the first detail that we talked about. We had a whole square about setting up the campsite. What was the second thing we talked about? We had a whole square or paragraph about the relaxing things we did during the day. And what was the third thing that we wrote about? The third square that was a paragraph. We talked about what did we do at night with our family. We made the campfire. This is a pretty fancy sentence, but you can see that it has a series or list of 3 phrases. And after the first one, we have a comma. After the second one, we have a comma. Then we have the word and. And each of them begin with the same type of word. This is an ing word, an ing word, and an ing word. Great job today.